Hello, I'm Josh Wilkinson and welcome to Chattin, presented by Made.
Hello.
Hi.
To get us started, please just introduce yourself and the work that you do generally.
Well, my name's Oshan. I'm 24 years old, living in Manchester, and I'm a production secretary currently at Coronation Street in Media City. Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, that's great, isn't it? Working on something like Coronation Street, which is such a legacy in Manchester, also the UK, and then also around the world. My auntie in Canada absolutely loves Coronation Street, and since she moved to Canada, she watches it. She's in her late 70s now, but she watches Coronation Street religiously, and it's almost like she thinks it's real. And I think it's brilliant. But yeah, I mean, to have any part in that must be really exciting. But my question, I suppose, is how did you get into that work? How did you get into the work that you're doing now?
Well, I can't lie, it has been a long journey full of like a lot of failures, but also a lot of successes, because obviously this is where I am now. But I actually started my journey just to be should I say, the normal route of going through college and then going to university and then getting a job through university. But actually, I had a lot of struggles in college, because I actually went to two colleges, because at my first one I failed in my exams, just because I had so much anxiety. I don't really know why now that I've passed that era of my life.
Yeah.
But I always struggled with anxiety being a young child. So when it did come to exams, just because that's not where my strengths lie. As soon as I got into the exam hall, I was kind of like, no, I'm done. I'm just gonna like work at Asda and be a success and work my way through the ranks and do it that way. But actually, I had a lot of support from my family, who said, no, that's not what you want to do. Stop being daft. Like, these things happen, and that failure does not define who you are. So I went back to college, this time the Manchester College, studying animation of all things.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
yeah. I don't really know why, but I thought, I want to try something different. And yeah, I actually passed that one and got a distinction. So I was really happy in that, because it was actually it was a BTEC course, and before was like A levels. So doing BTEC, I thought with practical coursework and that kind of stuff, I found out that's where my strengths lie. And sitting down in our careers day, like, they go through all your strengths, and mine was like leadership, practical, helping out, admin, and putting all these together. I was like, well, I do like TV. If I could be a television production manager of some sort, then let's go down that route. And literally, I kid you not, I googled television production management, and I found this course at Edgehill, which is television production managers.
No way.
And I was like, that's me.
Wow.
That was right up my alley. And went there, and here I am now. I actually got the job through, because I actually was studying during the pandemic. So actually ITV came to my uni on Zoom and did like this kind of assessment day where they went through interview questions. It was all practice run, but we didn't know we was being actually assessed by them.
Yeah.
And thankfully I was like overly prepared for anything that I'm given, just because why not? So I remember like being on Zoom, but I put a suit on, because why not? It's ITV. Literally, meanwhile everyone else is in the bedroom, like just getting out of bed. I'm like, nope, it's ITV. I'm putting a suit on. Don't really care what anyone says. But yeah, I got a call from them one day saying, do you want to come in for a chat? And I realised what a chat means is an interview, but I didn't know that.
No, try and make it informal to not make it scary, but it's still an interview, isn't it? Yeah.
And then I come in like joking in like, oh, I'm at ITV, coming for a chat. Why not? Let me get myself a coffee and offer them one. Like, but no, it was an interview, and I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I think that's what's interesting for me is that point that you've just explained, where you sort of went at it again. You tried again, and you went back to the college and did a BTEC. And I think it's interesting to me because I did a similar thing where I did a BTEC course as well in media, and to me that's exactly how my brain worked, and it made sense. But it didn't necessarily. It wasn't clear to me when choosing what to do at college stage. Exactly what I would be doing, but I found this course, and the BTEC element to it was so freeing because of its practical side. And so like you say, so you did animation there at Manchester College, did you say? Yeah.
A complete switch, because at my first college I did sociology, English. I did media studies, but it was kind of like the back end, because we had to do 4 subjects of A levels that we had to pass. I'm trying to think what the one was, but for the life of me, I can't remember.
It's in the past.
Like literally in the past. But it was completely things that I wouldn't necessarily choose to do now. And you know, like coming from high school, like when you're told what you are, you kind of follow what teachers push you down. So I got told, well, to be successful, you have to do all these subjects to show that you're bright, you're smart, you're worthy for a good job. But actually, if I would have been encouraged and listened to as a child, that's not where my strengths lie. Because I always express exams give me anxiety. But it was kind of like, you'll grow out of it. And it just wasn't a great place in my life. And actually, if I was a 16-year-old child now, looking at where I am now, I probably wouldn't have believed it, because it's just a lot of pressure that they put on kids these days. And actually, it doesn't need to be like that. They don't actually talk about, if you fail, you can try again.
But I think that's a key part. I mean, that's the one thing that I think sometimes is missed for education, that every young person is individual and they have a different way of learning. And I think that it's changed a lot recently. And again, you get some teachers as well, they're absolute gems, aren't they? And they do see the potential in people, and you've got that sort of, I don't know, way of, although you've got a curriculum to teach, you've also got ways to do it that can be tailored to different people. But it resonates with me. I had a really similar thing, so I get where you're coming from there. And I think if not anything else, it's about knowing the options that are available. And I think, you've got into a sort of profession now where it is more, I suppose it's more freelance, isn't it, than it is 9 to 5 sort of work, in the way that you jump from projects. Is that how you work now?
Kind of. For me, I'm currently PAYE, not freelance, and it kind of changes in the type of thing that you have between freelance, PAYE, and staff. So
you're employed by ITV?
Yes, that's what I'm getting to. Whereas freelance, they do have contracts where they here and dip in and out. And I suppose I could be, but PAYE comes with more security.
And that's the other thing, where imagine if someone asked you what PAYE or freelance was when you were in college or something. It's like, these things and that's it really, isn't it? Where we say that, I suppose, and as well, I remember some teachers, when I got into media at college, they knew the language and the different jobs available, but it wasn't necessarily very clear when they were saying, what, we all get taught the same sort of jobs when we're in especially primary school, and it's like, you can be a doctor, you can be a fireman, you can do, and these other jobs almost don't exist until you look into the niche. But no, I find that interesting, and I think the with that course, then it sounds like when you did the animation course at Manchester College, it sort of opened you up to this world of being practical and just working in a way that sounds like worked with your brain, worked with the way that you worked. I think that's really interesting, and I'm glad that you found that, even though you didn't necessarily go into animation, it seems like it helped you sort of along that journey.
And going back to what you were saying before about the teachers, at this college, I had a great teacher who actually understood my needs, and if she didn't, she tried to understand it further by asking questions. So she knew I wasn't an animator, long way by an animator, but she just helped me understand that actually this isn't what you want, but until you figure out what you want to do, then let's get you a good grade. So the options are there. And I really appreciate that as well, because it was just about that kind of level of understanding and support.
Yeah, and that sounds as well like then it took you to your next decision of university, like you say. It's almost like it was that was quite a clear turning point. It was a directional thing. I always say that there was a year where I left college and I just said I'm going to say yes to everything for the kind of year.
Yeah.
Whatever comes my way, I'm going to be like, I'll try it out. And that sort of that spiraled me onto different paths. But I would always encourage that for other people as well, where it's like if you're open and you kind of try stuff out, then you know what your strengths are and you know what you can work on. So that's really cool. So you're looking there as well at that job. What was the name of the job that the course encompassed at uni? What was it? Management something? What?
It was television production management at Edge Hill University. It was a great course as well. Like, it was just amazing. It wasn't exam based, but completely practical, with a lot of coursework, don't get me wrong. But it was amazing. It was a good experience to have.
And so I imagine, from knowing little bits of what I know about the TV world and production and stuff, it's quite a ladder climbing situation. Is that right? Where you sort of, you do the roles and then you understand the roles and then you sort of work your way up. Would you say that's the way it works?
Completely working my way up the corporate ladder. And I feel like what was great about the course that I did, it was kind of like a training course for the job that I'm doing now. Right. So I kind of like, thankfully, skipped a step and came in at a really good entry level point for someone who didn't previously had any experience in the television world, just because, like I said, I did just come straight from uni, and thankfully that chat that I had was the breaking point for me into the industry.
Brilliant. So remind me again of your job title now, and also what that looks like day to day. Like what does it look like day to day? What the ins and outs of the role that you do?
Well, I'm a production secretary for Coronation Street, and day to day it changes, if I'm being honest. Like, there's two roles currently. Not two roles, I would say there's two parts to being a production secretary at Coronation Street. There's in the office and in the green room. In the office, what we pretty much do is complete call sheets. A call sheet is just a very in-depth schedule with everything listed for everyone to understand who was a part of that production team. Mm-hmm. We also answer calls, do expenses, and help in any way we can. And basically like a glorified receptionist for the production team, from being completely honest, just doing all the paperwork that's needed. So to take some of that workload off like our directors, basically. Yeah. And then when we're in the green room, what we're doing, and the green room is pretty much just that pit stop for the cast. Mm-hmm. So when they are finished with a scene, they come back to the green room and they might have some questions like, when's my next scene? When am I next due on set? When's the end of the day? And I'm just basically giving them that information. After each scene is done, because usually a day consists of a list of scenes that we have to complete every single day to make a program. Yeah. So when the day is done, you just have to complete all the paperwork of everything that we completed that day, so it's ready for the next day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's almost like, I mean, and something like Coronation Street, which is, it's almost like, it's a very well-oiled machine, isn't it? It's like
very well-oiled.
Everybody knows. It's like, sort of, if you miss that slot, you've got to, because it's an ongoing show, isn't it? They've not got breaks. It's a soap pop. So it just goes from episode to episode. Everybody needs to know what they're doing, don't they? So if one person in the team drops the ball, then you've kind of got a bit of a situation of that. But that's dead interesting, that, because I don't think I've ever spoke to anybody that does that job, and it's one of those things where I imagine it's, like you say, it's quite different every day. Although the actual job, the maybe motions of it is the same, you've got very different things that you'll be signing off and working on, and I suppose different challenges as well that come into that. Do you enjoy that job? Are you enjoying it?
yeah, it's very enjoyable. Like it just gives me the ultimate job satisfaction because I'm just getting to meet new and interesting people every day. And like, yeah, you get the Corrie talent, but you also get people that are in the crew that just have such interesting lives. So like when they're just explaining how they actually got into the industry, like I said, I got the very generic route, but some people like they've come from all over the world and they worked hard to get where they are now. Like whether that be from trying to think now, whether that be from I've lost my point, sorry.
That's all right. Wait, do you get your name on the credits yet?
No, I get them
Yeah.
on in May.
Oh,
So soon coming, but yeah.
that'll be
It's
exciting, eh?
very exciting. I'll take a picture of it.
What so with that then, I guess at the moment with the role that you've got, it's something that is enjoyable, and it's again it's something, a stepping stone that you can almost observe the other people around you that are doing those other roles, and look at that. And I suppose, is it a matter of when you feel comfortable in this role and you maybe do want to try another role that's maybe a step up, or another role in a similar position, is it just a matter of waiting for a time where one job ends and you apply for another role, or you look at, is that how it works? Is sort of like, do you talk to someone who's a bit higher up and go, hey, I'm really interested in taking a step up now, or what's the general route now that you're in it?
Well, to be fair, it's exactly that. Like with the production management team, which I fall under, because you've got the production managers, production coordinators, and production secretaries, and that's pretty much the running order of my job line. But above that, you've got the head of productions, and every week we actually have a meeting together with the whole of multi-story. That's who I currently work for at ITV. We just have a rundown of what's going on, what new shows are coming up, how your week's been, do you need any advice, that kind of chit chat. But if you are interested in anything, you can in the meeting just say, you mentioned that last week, like a new project that's coming up, would it be okay if I work on it? And it's pretty much as simple as that. It's not all the time, but because even though like the name ITV seems so big, it's actually such a small, tight-knit company. So if you did want to work on something else, there is someone else to cover you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Because someone else might want to work on your program, which is Coronation Street. I'm sure someone would like want that experience, because at ITV they're very much a company that they don't want to pigeonhole you into a place. If you express that you want to go into a different department, they're more than happy to do that, even if that's completely changing into a different role. I know a guy that's come from accounting and he wanted to try the management team, and they actually allowed that to happen. And there was a person who wanted to do accounting and they completely just switched roles from that. Simple as that.
You like that? I like that sort of that way of working, because sometimes you don't get the opportunity, do you? You don't get the opportunity to be able to just try stuff out. And I think the trial and error is so important to eventually be happy with the role that you've got. So coming around to this, I mean, there'll be lots of people watching this conversation that we're having now that maybe, you know, for the first time have heard that this role is actually a job that they could do. But generally, if you were to say you were in a high school now, speaking to a group of year 8s or year 9s, I don't know, what kind of, do you have any bits of advice that you've been given along your way that you maybe not, I don't know, I suppose wish you would have known then, but also would have benefited from hearing, sort of?
Yeah, I would say have a plan. Whatever you want to try, whatever you like to do. Because for me, the reason why I ended up in TV, because I like watching TV. It was as simple as that. And I thought, how was that made? Okay, well, this is my plan and this is my route. So it was really as simple as that. And if you ever did want to get into the industry, it is as simple as having a plan. I feel like people make it in their minds that it's a lot harder than it is. But actually, it's as easy as picking up the phone, and phoning the company to ask if there's any opportunities available. Because there's so many production companies there that are seen in the credits.
Yeah.
So it's just about having the confidence, if anything, this is the advice I would give them. It's about having the confidence just to be able to pick up the phone and ask. And that's it, really. And be comfortable with the answer no. I would say like I was very uncomfortable with hearing the answer no, thinking it was a rejection in a type of way. But actually, it's just a stepping stone to finding the next opportunity that's available.
Yeah, I think that sounds really important, I suppose, for when you get knocked down once, it's almost like, well, this is what I'm going to get every other time now. If they've said no this time, they'll say no all the time. But I think, I had a friend that did a similar thing to what you were saying there, where they were watching TV and they saw the credits and they saw who the company that, after every TV show, it says the name of the production company, doesn't it? And he rang those up and managed to go and get like a job just shadowing and being in the room. And then that led to a job. And I suppose that it doesn't always happen as simply as that, but it's a matter of putting yourself out there in a way that you would never expect you could do. Like, imagine if, I don't know, like in any other profession, it's not like that's the way it works. Because, you know, I suppose having a bit of experience, having a bit of prior knowledge obviously really does help. But also, I don't know, like if I wanted to be a chef, I couldn't just maybe be eating somewhere and go, hiya, can I just speak to the chef and come and work with him tomorrow? I mean, it may work. I could be a sous chef. But I think it's an interesting, it's a different industry altogether. But I think having that faith in yourself is what you're saying there, isn't it? And being able to have that initiative and having that plan, always knowing what your next step is. Is that what you would mean?
I would say, like, I think you would be surprised how many industries are open to accepting new people, and if they're not open to accepting it, then just giving some advice on how to get that. Obviously, with everything that you want to do, you have to have a type of professionalism with it, to let them know that you're interested in it. You can't just phone up and be like, "Ayo, you're right. Can I have a job, please?" No, like, have a CV prepared, have a plan in your mind, which it comes back to, of what you want to say to them to try and make yourself stand out to that person, because we are all people behind the camera, behind the meal that you're just eating. It's just about having the confidence to put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because there's nothing to be afraid of. If this is what your dream is, then go for it.
Yeah, fantastic. Amazing. No, I think that's that they're the words of wisdom that will hopefully echo through everybody watching's ears. So I mean, it's been really interesting to find out all these different roles, all these different steps that you've took to get to the role that you're in, and the path that you've taken. Because again, you've said it is kind of conventional in terms of through education, but also it does seem like you've really gone through a journey personally as well about just stopping and questioning, hang on, is this what I want to do? Also maybe having a failure, but then reapplying to a different course or joining another set of another sort of program that's obviously helped you through, and the animation thing. I love animation anyway, but the tools you left with that were really valuable, it seems, and just generally it looks like you're on a fantastic path. I was going to ask if you've got any other projects coming up, but it sounds like you're really busy, and that it's sort of like an organic flowing process on which job you go to next.
It really, really is. I'm only actually at Coronation Street for another week now, and after Coronation Street, I'm moving on to a new project in the works called Fresh Cuts. It's so new, but what I know from it, because I only got the call back yesterday to let me know that I've actually got onto it. But from what I know from it, it's a 4-part series, which means like 4 programs in the works that will look into different Black British stories to be shown during Black History Month, to get Black British representation out there. Not just representation, because we have that, but positive representation. So that kind of cultural, people from that culture can see themselves in a positive light. So Should be fun.
I'll be definitely watching out on for the Coronation Street episodes with your name on, and also that as well. But it has been absolutely fantastic to chat to you. I think really inspirational, but also I wish you every bit of luck for the next steps. Thanks very much.
Thank you. See you later.